When thinking of creating an estate plan, there's really two steps. The first step is creating the documents. The second step is funding those documents. So when talking about a trust, you have to fund the trust. I like to think of the analogy of a basket. So the trust is setting up this basket, right? And so clients come in, we set up that basket for them. We're not able to have access to clients' bank accounts and sign documents for them and go to all these places that hold their assets to fund the trust or move those assets into the trust. So what we do is we create this basket, give it to the client and say, hey, go collect your assets. So they take that basket or the trust document and they can then go take their different assets like their bank accounts and different things and put them into that basket to make sure all their assets are in the trust and can be distributed according to the terms of those trusts. When considering funding the trust or moving your assets into the trust, it's typically a fairly simple process. When it comes to bank accounts, what the client has to do is take the physical copies or the originals of those trust documents to their bank. Usually you set up an appointment to meet with the banker and you tell the banker, hey, I want to move my accounts into this trust. And they'll do one of two things. They'll either make the trust the owner of that account or the trust will be the beneficiary of the account, meaning it stays in your name, but when you pass away, it automatically transfers to the trust. Both ways of titling a bank account will avoid probate, and it just really depends on the type of account. The same is true for investment accounts, especially if you have a financial advisor. They're typically really savvy and have transferred a lot of accounts into trust or put trust as beneficiaries. Oftentimes it's as easy as making a phone call, getting documents sent to you, and then signing those and sending them back and putting your trust as a beneficiary on those accounts. The main aspect of funding that we're able to do entirely for the client is transferring real estate. So if you own a home, you typically own it in your own name, right? The individual owns that home. So what we do is we transfer that house from that individual's name into the name of their trust, but the trust has them as a trustee, which means they can refinance, sell, do whatever they need to with the house as if they were the sole owner. The difference is when it's in the name of the trust, once they pass away, their trustee can then sign the deed to sell that house or transfer title into the beneficiaries' names. Transferring property into a trust is one of the biggest aspects of estate planning, especially when considering trusts. And it's something that we help all of our clients with, is moving that real property or their homes into the trust to make sure it's funded properly and it can avoid probate upon their passing. The risk of not funding your trust correctly is that if you leave assets outside of the trust, and after you pass away, your trustee tries to gain access to those assets, it's not a trust asset. The trust name is not on the document itself, which means your trustee is likely going to have to go back through the probate process in order to gain access to that asset. So funding the trust is an essential second aspect to creating a trust package. It's something that we help our clients walk through and make as simple as possible. But at the end of the day, it's up to the client to make sure they work with their financial planners, their banks or other financial institutions to make sure their assets end up into the trust.